One of the things in photography that really adds some dramatic effects to your image is when you utilize depth of field in camera. However, being an amateur photographer myself, I know that a lot of times we forget to go ahead and adjust our camera to utilize depth of field, so we need to go ahead and add that in during post-production here inside of Photoshop. So in order to do that, it's actually very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this image up that we have here. I'm going to select Don't Save, and I'm going to click on the bridge icon to launch the Adobe Bridge. Then I'm going to bring up endlessroad.jpg, which is located in your Chapter 8 Project Files folder. And once we have that image open, I'm going to jump into full screen mode by hitting the F key on my keyboard. Then I'm just going to move this image into the center like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to simulate depth of field in this image. So in essence, we're going to be blurring out this background here and keeping this man right here in focus. So in order to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is convert this image into a smart object by control clicking on the layer or right clicking on the layer if you're on the PC, selecting smart object, and that'll just convert that so that now we can use that with the smart filtering system here inside of Photoshop. And once I come up here, I'm going to select filter, blur, and we will select Gaussian blur for this. And what we're going to do, we're going to drag this down now probably to about 9 or 10 pixels. 10 pixels would probably be best for this image. And we'll go ahead then and click OK. So now what we've got is this nice blurred image all the way across our photograph. So how do we then go ahead and fix this to where it gradually fades into focus from the background to the foreground? Well, we're going to select the Smart Filter Layer Mask. You'll notice that you get a little outline around the Smart Filter Layer Mask when you select it. That's how you will always know that you have that selected. So go ahead and click that, and once you see that little bounding box there, you know that you have that selected. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to grab the Gradient tool from my toolbar. I'm going to make sure that I have the default black to white gradient selected. Just click right there and make sure that you have the black to white gradient selected like so. Then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to drag this gradient from the front of our image to the back of our image. So essentially we're wanting to say where we want the focus to start and where we want it to stop. So we're going to take this, we're going to click, and we're going to drag backwards to the background like so. And then when we let go, you'll notice here we get that gradual fade into the background. However, we're missing some spots right back in here and also off to the side as well. So how do we fix that? Well, we're going to have to adjust the angle of that gradient we just made. So in order to do that, we'll just click and drag again to adjust that. And there we've created a nice gradual fade backwards here across the entire background of the image. But the one thing that we have that's a problem is the fact that his face has now become half in focus and half out of focus. Well, it's a very easy fix. All we have to do, making sure we have that layer mask still selected there, what we're going to do is we're going to jump to the brush tool by hitting the B key on my keyboard. I'm going to increase the size of my brush significantly here. I'm doing that by tapping the right bracket key on my keyboard. And we're going to make sure that we have black as our foreground color. And we're just going to brush his face back into focus here like so. Now, it's not really bringing his face back into focus as much as I would like to, simply because the opacity of my brush is set to very low at 30%. So in order to change your opacity of your brush, just go ahead and hit 0 on your keyboard to make sure that you have 100% opacity while you're brushing. So now I'm just going to brush his face back into focus like so. And once I finish brushing him back into focus, we should have a nice simulated depth of field image here inside of Photoshop. So here we go. I'll show you a quick before where everything was in focus, and here's after where we have that gradual fade of focus all the way up to draw our attention right to his face, which is the main portion of our composition.